and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have the Liptons back, and we are pretty much one in the same in that all we really want to do is bring you the best help that we can in a way that isn't really personalized, because we can't do that. Like, unless you're our client, that isn't something we do. But our goal is to help you in some way to unlearn all the bullshit, because we were talking about this in a business sense just before, but a lot of the time it feels like shit when it feels like nothing's moving. Because when you're in the working phase, when you're in the planning phase, like, even think about this when you're doing anything for your life. When you're planning, there is no output to be seen. There is nothing that is getting done. So it feels like a waste of time. So then you stop doing that planning so you can actually make physical work. So you can actually say you did something, but because you didn't plan it, you're wasting a lot more time doing the physical doing just because you're not doing the right thing. So yes, you need to embrace the suck. You need to embrace the unlearning first, because if you bring all your old beliefs into a whole new approach, you're never going to see the changes you want, because you're going to keep reverting back to the same mentality. Like, for example, when someone starts, I hate saying reverse diet, but when we say reverse diet, we mean jumping to maintenance. We do not mean tottering up your food little by little, because otherwise you're going to break yourself. No. When we bring you up to living in maintenance, you're not meant to just say 1 week after, so when we start the fat loss phase. Like, we get it. It's hard. It's hard to do that kind of stuff. And we were talking about the rooster that went off next door, and I didn't even pay attention. Like, I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I'm like, oh, right, that rooster. Because I've been living with this rooster next door to me for so long, I don't even pay attention to it. And that's the thing. Like, it's something that annoys the fuck out of you when it's something new to you. But when it's something that you've been doing for a while, it's something that just that isn't just like a thing to you anymore. And that's the same with your nutrition. That's the same with your fitness. But you need to make it part of your lifestyle to have that sort of ease. When people say, how do you do that? I don't know, I just do. It's easy for me. Like, that's the thing. You make it easy for you by living in that state. And I can't believe I made those two analogies, but I think Sarah for bringing up both of those, and Kenny for mentioning the rooster as well. It's just like, yep, this is it. So we're going to take this away, talking about things that we, us three, want all of you guys, our clients, anyone listening to this, to know about why you're not supposed to diet forever, and why you really don't have to eat such little calories to see results.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it's funny. I just want to touch one point too, is that with learning new things, if you have a goal in mind, like, this is just my I guess personal view on it, but when you have a goal in mind and you haven't reached that goal yet, and you've been doing things to reach that goal, and for whatever reason you feel like you're running a hamster wheel, and you come across something that is potentially new knowledge, and you are closed off to that new knowledge because you are stuck in the belief that what you're currently doing is going to get you to your goal. For me, if I haven't reached my goal yet, that means one of two things. For me, it could mean that my actions aren't actually in alignment with where I want to be, or two, I'm doing something wrong and I do need to figure out what I need to do. So, for example, your actions may be correct and they're going the right path, but there just needs a little bit of modification to get you fully to that end goal. Or, you know, you could be doing something just flat out wrong, which, you know, I think all of us have done that at some point of our lives, especially in the gym or just in nutrition or whatever it may be. And, you know, like Ruby had said, being in that position where you are frustrated, you are mad or upset, you know, not sure what you're, you know, what's going on, why you're not achieving that goal, is a good place to be. Even though it sucks, it's a great place to be, because it's going to teach you very valuable lessons, but you have to be open to learning those lessons. Otherwise, you're going to continue doing the wrong things and continue to be frustrated. So yeah, hopefully what we talk about is going to help you guys out quite a bit.
Yeah, Absolutely. I wanted to go back to something that Ruby had said too, in terms of like, well, how is it that you can go to the gym every day or hit your macros or nutrition every day? Like, why is, and you said, well, it's just part of my life. And, it took years and years of consistency for all of us to get to that point. You want to create habits of the person that you want to be, not the person you were, because your current habits got you to where you are right now. And the habits that you're going to build are going to get you to who you want to be, right? So what are those habits that that person has? So if you look at Ruby, right, she nails her nutrition, she nails going to the gym. Like if she's someone that you look up to, like what habits and what attributes does she have that you want? And you should emulate those things and build consistency upon those, so that one day you can look back and think, I can't imagine my life without, working out now. I can't imagine my life without eating, nutrient dense foods or really taking care of what it is that I'm putting into my body. It feels foreign to not have those things. So building consistency is very much a part of this, on top of what everything else that we're going to talk about in terms of like caloric deficit and training and all of those things. But building consistency is the foundation and the foundation to getting to where you want to be. And you can't skip that part. And the consistency phase it's hard. It is absolutely difficult.
If you know that reel on Instagram, the trend that goes, can we skip to the good part? It doesn't really work that way. Well, it's kind of the same thing. And just because of something Sarah said, I want to actually talk about what is it that you would want to look up to. If like, because I have a lot of people that say, how do you do all that? Like, my amazing form, the way that I hold a front loaded barbell while I'm doing a Bulgarian split squat. It's just like, it is that practice. It's that consistency over time. But the things that I think about is, I know how it makes me feel. I know how doing the opposite or the alternative makes me feel. Which do I prefer? Like, it's not just about being a freaking robot 24/7. Like, I don't see any benefit to just eating some extravagant meal unless it brings meaning to me. So I don't do it. I don't sacrifice one of my meals for a slice of pizza. I won't sacrifice one of my meals for an Easter bunny. But if there was a meal where I'm having a date with someone, or I'm having a social event that means something to me, then that is still a picture of health, because health includes your social health. That is making me socially healthy. If I'm doing it with no real reason, and this is also where you have to kind of pick apart what happens every single weekend. If you're seeing the same friends every single weekend, that's not a social health thing. That's you making excuses as to why you can't stick to your plan every single weekend, which is why you can't stick to your results. So you need to make some sacrifices if you want to see results. But there are times where you want to just not have to be 100% doing what you usually do. And when I say 100%, I usually mean 80%, because there's no such thing as being perfect. But you want to do the right thing most of the time. And that's usually my goal, which is usually most of the time, because like, I find joy in what I do because it makes me feel good, because it allows me to perform, to recover, and to be my best self. But if I want to go out and get some Chipotle, just because you guys are from America and that's what you get. But over here, if you want to get some friggin' Guzman and Gomez, however it's pronounced, you can still get that, and you can still enjoy that without thinking, okay, what do I have to sacrifice now? How am I going to punish myself now? No, it's just one day. That has no impact on anything. Which is what we're going to talk about as well, anything that you have like that has much less of a ripple when you have a lot more muscle mass, when you have a longer training history, when you have a longer bank account record of every single rent payment that you paid. I like this analogy. I really just thought of it. Every single rent analogy and every single meal input, which is a deposit that you have put into the bank, you have a lot more to then spend.
Yeah, that was a really good analogy, actually. That was really, really great. It is. I love that, because, that ripple that you're referring to, when you're eating 1,200 calories and you go out and you decide you've been doing that for 2 months, and you go out and you decide, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to binge because I've been restricted for so long. That's going to have much more of an impact on you than had you just been consistent at a higher caloric intake with less restriction. Because like Ruby said, like you are depositing, food and fuel into your body. You're working on building up that basal metabolic rate. You're working on building that muscle. You have more calories that you're burning at rest because you have more muscle mass. Those are all very important things to remember.
Yeah, I was going to also say, Ruby had mentioned like friends going out on the weekend. And I don't know if anyone, listening to this experience what I'm about to say, but like when you get together with friends or family and you're on some sort of, whether it's like a meal plan or, some sort of goal macro wise, and you get together with that family member or friends and you feel guilty because you don't participate in whatever they're doing, it can be very difficult. And I used to have a group of friends actually back in high school that drink all the time. They drink all the time, and it was on the weekends and they would just get drunk. And for me, I just never really was into that. Not for any sort of health purpose. I just literally I thought beer tastes like piss. That was like the reason I didn't drink it. And for a while there, I was getting invited to the parties, just hanging out, just wanted to be with, for there, just to be there. And at some point, eventually that friend group, we parted ways. And now, today, I've always been health conscious and I've always been into fitness. And now I have a group of friends who are the same way, and they completely support my goals. They completely don't make me feel awkward, don't make me feel weird. And the point I'm trying to make is that if you allow for, like Ruby had mentioned, like you're hanging out with the same friends every weekend and you make that excuse like, oh, I was hanging out with my friends, I couldn't, stick to protocol, whatever it is. That's a form of transference. Like you're transferring your, I guess, feelings onto your friends, right? Like that's your friends should support you. Like they should be able to say, yeah, Ruby or Kenny or, whatever, do your thing. That's totally fine. Like they shouldn't make you feel like you can't do what you need to do. And if that's the case, then maybe you should probably, look at a different circle, because that's not, good, right? Your friends should be supportive in what you do, unless obviously you're harming yourself, which you're not. You're trying to better your health. But I do remember that distinctly when I was, going through high school, where it was very awkward and difficult to stick to my, personal goals at the time, and it ultimately led me to become better. Even though it was very hard to do at the time. I lost, they were my best friends. I had lost my best friends at the time. But now, my best friends are much better today than they were back then. But again, going through hard shit makes you a better person. And especially, if you're trying to better your health, I mean, that's super important. Like that's something that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. And you want to make sure you prioritize that.
I want to talk about the health part later, but I actually want to bring in another analogy with the school thing as well. Not really an analogy, but my story. I went to an academically selective high school, and because I was surrounded around people who loved studying and doing all that kind of stuff, I was able to get myself straight into a master's degree right after high school. Like I didn't even have to work my way through a bachelor to get into a master's degree. I got that because the friends group that I was in were the ones that were always competing with each other to who could get the highest. Garrett had a lot of mental repercussions on me of this perfectionist mentality and never feeling good enough, which lingered with me for years. And I still have remnants of it now, but that is the environment I was around. Whereas we used to call them the white kids, even though I'm like, because my school is full of like, my friend circle were more like the European, Asian, Indian culture. They were like my friend circle. But then there were the mountains kids that came from like the Blue Mountains area, which is the complete opposite direction to where I live. And they were the ones that always used to just like be social and go out, be idiots. And while there were a couple of people that were really just smart off the bat, you could tell the difference between who our friends group were. And this is where it comes with the like living with the rooster analogy. Like it's just like, you don't even think twice about the behaviors that you're doing or what's around you. It's living with that rooster. And it's the same when you come into the lifestyle of this is the way that I am, and you do it for a few years to know why you like you. It's not even about knowing why you do it. It's just what you do. You can't imagine the alternate. But going back to the friends, I went out with like a group of friends a couple of years ago before this whole bullshit happened. And we went to the lake and we stayed there for like 3 nights. They're all drinkers. They were completely toasted one night. I was the designated driver. They had crisps and chocolates and all this shit everywhere. And I only remember having like a few salt and vinegar chips here and there, like not even much, like about one handful one day and then one handful one night. And that was it, because I wanted my own food. Like I wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel good when I woke up. I didn't want to have a shit stomach. I didn't want to not be able to shit. Like just to put it out there, but because we're going to be talking about health, like I didn't want that, because I know how I feel when I cannot go to the toilet and do a number 2. Like it is the worst feeling in the world. And a lot of you people listening to this can relate to constipation, can relate to feeling shit in the stomach. It ruins your day. It makes you feel like you are fat. It makes you feel like you have the worst body in the world. Like I am worse on my body image when my digestion isn't good, because it's like all your emotions are in how good your gut health is, and no one talks about it enough. But when I wake up feeling bloated, I feel like shit, but I get my shit done anyway. It's just like, I'm not going to wear my fluoro pants because I feel like I'm a big elephant, but I know that it's just this. Like that's the thing. I know that it's just this, and I'm going to move past it. It's part of the process. And I was able to do that because it was living with the rooster. And this is something Sarah wanted to talk about, so I'll lead into it. It's easy for me to do that. And if I was dieting, it's easy for me to say no to a lot of things if I had to. Why? Because I don't go into a diet with the mindset of I'm going to be on 1,200 calories for the rest of my life. Like, no, dieting is not forever. Calorie deficits aren't forever. They should not be forever. And they are definitely not what you need to get that goal body.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that's so hard, especially right now. Like I've been going through a hormonal healing process for the last 8 or 9 months. I think I'm going on a year. Just kidding. I'm going on a year of
with Ellen.
Yeah, next month of this hormonal healing journey where I've literally gained 20 pounds, and I have just done what my coach has told me to do because I know that that's necessary in order to get to where I want to be. And it's been so hard, and it hasn't been easy in the slightest, but I continue to show up every day because I know that that's what's going to get me to my end goal. And I would say the last several weeks have been tremendously hard just because we've moved into a different kind of phase. And the fact I have been, and I do not 100%, like this is for me, this is for like what I'm going through. Like my blood glucose was through the roof, but I have a very strict type of diet that I'm doing right now to get that regulated and to sync up my hormones again. And I've been fasting for 2 days, a very different kind. I don't mean fasting like completely. I have a very modified fast, but it's probably been the hardest thing that I've ever done. But I haven't broken it because I know that this is going to get me to where I want to be, and it's only temporary. So when you're in a caloric deficit and you're working through those things with nutrition, or you're trying to move towards a goal, like continuing to show up and do the things that are necessary to get you there, like you can't just say, oh, well, I'm just going to throw it away because whatever, I'm over it. And then you start over again. And that's why you end up in the same boat that you are all the time, because you can't be consistent with one thing. You can't keep showing up and continuing to put your best foot forward and being adherent to your protocol. There's a reason as coaches that we give protocols, right? There's a reason for that, because we're trying to get your body to the place that we're either trying to get your body to respond to begin with, we're pulling you out of a caloric deficit, we're trying to get your hormones and your health back in order, or C, we're going through a fat loss phase and your adherence is necessary. If you want to get to that end goal, being in a caloric deficit and being adherent to that is important. Now, I say deficit, with a grain of salt, because I think a lot of people misconstrue that, which is probably going to lead us into the next topic. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say that the consistency and the adherence, like if you want results, you have to adhere. You can't like Kenny and I both live by the 80-20 rule, and we would never expect our clients to not live the way that we're living, right? We would never expect someone to be 100% on 100% of the time. That's definitely not what we expect as coaches, but 80% consistency over a long period of time can bring you so many results that you're missing out on if you are not being adherent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say too, it's funny when you start to take the actions towards your goals, and I think you quickly can realize whether you want it or not. So for example, you may say you want something, but then when you start taking the action steps to do it, and not to say that, Sarah and I are it's the only way to do what we're doing, right? There's many ways to do it. But if you start taking these action steps and you start to say, not want to do it, or, whatever reason may be, you have to ask yourself, is this something you actually do want? Because whatever it is, whether it's a business goal, a fitness goal, whatever it is, it does require work. It does require getting into the trenches and really just pushing hard shit. And again, the 80-20 rule applies, right? But like I remember when I was a cyclist before I started lifting. And I remember I saw Lance Armstrong on the TV, and I was like, I want to be like this guy, got a bike. And then I tried riding my bike, and it was the hardest shit I've ever done. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to throw up a lung. I cannot do this. And my bike sat in my room for like 3 months, and I didn't do it. And my dad kept asking me, like, are you going to ride? Are you going to ride? Are you going to ride? And I said, maybe, I don't know. Cause I got my ass kicked by like a 55-year-old on a bike, and I was only 18 years old, and it was embarrassing. But one day I thought, okay, well, I do want this, and I'm going to go for it. And so what happened?
You said something really good. Take note of that part. Like, why was it that he did not get his ass onto that bike? It was because of something that scarred him ages ago. And this is where you really need to get real with yourself, because when you start a diet, or when I say start a diet, I mean physically start the diet, not mentally start the diet, because you're not mentally in a place to do it. It's like you're saying, actually not even physically, you're verbally starting a diet. That's better. When you're verbally starting a diet, you're not fully committing to everything you need to do, because the last thing you know is, this is how I felt. I felt like trash. This. I had to give this up. There was this hunger, and all these things linger with you, which is why you still have emotional eating issues. You still have freaking issues with your food. All these different things still linger with you because of your past experiences. So like we announced at the very start of this thing, you need to unlearn all of that by realizing there is a different way. There is a different way, and there is more to eating less. There is more to doing more, and getting toned has nothing to do with a calorie deficit. Losing weight is the worst thing you want to do. You want to lose fat. You want to lose fat and look better because it brings something to you. But saying, oh, it's just that I lost weight really fast when I was just focused on cutting my food. Yeah, well, that works until it doesn't. And then what? And I'm getting so animated here because it's something that I see every single day. And I know that Kenny and Sarah see it too, because it's everywhere. You say, oh, but I had a client where I did a protocol where the initial phase was just the nutrition, and then it was to bring in everything else. But in that interim, Christmas happened and her mindset wasn't in the right place. So then she went and just could not control her weekends and her drinking. But now that she's back on track, she's not drinking anymore. She is back on track to do the right things to get her to where she needs to be. But the focus is still on the same shit. She hasn't unlearned the fact that it's not just about losing weight. Your body is changing. You're getting stronger. You're actually training now. And to bring that in, training properly for the first time ever, or training for the first time ever, brings with it the fact that you may not see changes physically on the scale or numerically, but you are going to feel better. And this brings us to the fact of Kenny's bike. As soon as you actually flip your mindset and get your ass in gear and realize it's not going to be the same thing as your old stories anymore, you can go for that ride. How was that ride, Kenny?
Oh, it was it was excellent. Actually, it was great. Because the first time I ever went out, this guy, it was funny because I was a basketball player and I was not in the greatest shape. And I was kind of chubs. And so when I got on the bike for the first time, with these people that were riding bikes, all the time, I actually got called, someone said, oh, you're a little big for riding a bike. And then during the same ride, there was a hill, and this is where this old guy decided, I don't want to say old, but like he's, he was older than me at the time. He sprinted up, and I tried to, keep up with him, and he just looked back at me and laughed. And I was so embarrassed because I was just, I already got called fat on the bike by this group of people. And so, yeah, 3 months went by, and I thought, I can't go back because it's going to happen again, right? And the mindset switch was that, well, I either get better by doing something, or I just sit here and let the bike just kind of sit in my room doing nothing, and I could just continuously wish and wish that I could get better at the bike. And so one day I just went back, and yeah, I got my ass kicked over and over and over again until I didn't. And then next thing you know, I'm doing really well with the bike. But the mindset was initially to first, I'm not gonna lie, to beat the older guy that beat me. I wanted to beat him on a uphill battle. And then the second part became more intrinsic. Like, I really enjoyed cycling. I really enjoyed the process, and it became part of my life. And similar to like a fitness goal, like the gym or nutrition, in the very beginning, when you have to change your lifestyle, like let's say you're eating junk food, or perhaps you're eating too little, and then now you're making the transition to eating more food, and there's an inherent fear of eating more food because you're going to gain weight. Like, looking at the new changes from a surface level can be very deterrent of what actually is happening, right? Like, if you were to go a little bit deeper than the surface level fears and kind of understand, like, why am I doing this? Like, what is this going to do for me? Right? Like, for example, if you take the time to learn about your body, like your metabolism, it's adaptive. You don't want to be in a deficit forever because you're going to slow it down. And this is where you get into hormonal dysfunction potentially, right? But if you were to say, food is energy, and I need food to not only survive, but also thrive. Like, for example, if you want to go out with your friends, or you want to go out with your husband or wife, or whatever it may be, you can enjoy that time out. It becomes different. It becomes a new level of enjoyment, right? Because at the same time, you're enhancing your life, but you're also enhancing your understanding of your actions. There's more clarity involved. Like, when I was on that bike, the only thing I wanted to do was be like Lance Armstrong. It was very surface level. There was no clarity as to why I wanted to do the cycling beyond that. And then once I committed myself and started cycling more and more, there was more clarity as to why I actually loved it, and why I stuck with it, and why I became really good at it. And then same thing happened with the gym. Same thing happened with the nutrition. In the very beginning of anything new, there's going to be a lack of clarity. Like, you have to allow yourself to naturally and organically grow into your new actions. Otherwise, you're missing the whole beautiful thing of growing.
I actually love how you brought it into the fact of eating more, because it's so true that when people fear the idea of not dieting anymore because they're scared of going back to the way they used to be. But the difference is, in that time that has passed, you have grown, you have learned what not to do now. You have learned what doesn't work for you. Like, there is so much growth that happened in that process if you allowed it to happen. And if you didn't, you need to slow down and actually reflect on it and realize that there are parts of that you want to keep, and parts of that you want to just not do anymore because it didn't serve you. But especially if you have a coach in this process, which Kenny touched on before, but he didn't mention the coach in it. It's like, if you've been doing the same shit that isn't working, and if you think you're doing all the things, maybe you will actually make the whole learning new things and unlearning old things a lot easier if you had a coach on board with you to help you with that process, to be that mentor for you, to be that guide for you. Because then it's not going to feel like friggin' Kenny on a bike going uphill. It's going to feel a lot more level surfaced, and you're going to be on an even playing field to speed up that process. And then you're going to actually start to fall in love with it and not want to finish it, because all you can see is the fact that this is a journey of improvements, it's a journey of getting better. And I really wanted to talk on exactly how muscle plays into this thing, because it's something people don't realize, but how you are training, that plays into all of this as well. It's not just about, like, at first, yeah, it's just going there to make sure you're getting there. But then as soon as you get to a point, you need to actually start to realize it's not just about the weight on the bar. It's just not about moving that weight on the bar from point A to point B. There's a whole lot more to training and there's a whole lot more to program design than meets your eye. So take that away.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's how you lift the weight. It's not the weight. Weight is all relative. I know Kenny loves saying weight is relative. Weight is relative.
Yeah, I do.
Like, okay, but you're lifting 315 and I can barely, lift my body weight, but weight is all relative. If you're going in there and you're, swinging weights around for high reps, but you're not really, putting the tension where it's intended to be, you're not going to see much progress. I used to do that all the time. I would go into the gym and do 60 fucking reps, excuse my language, on the freaking tricep extension and wonder why I wasn't making progress. Well, first of all, the fact that I was able to do 60 reps is a problem. I wasn't lifting heavy enough, obviously, right? And I wasn't targeting the muscle that I was intending to target. I was just going through the motions. I was just checking a box. Like, the intent behind your lift matters. How you lift the weight matters. How much you're pushing yourself matters. It's not just about counting 12 reps and being, done. I like to say that I don't count reps to be done. I count reps to know how many I'm doing to make sure that I continue to apply progressive overload. You do not count reps to be finished. You count reps to know that you're, continuing to make progress, that you're recovering, that you're continuing to increase the weights over time or increase the tension over time or the time under tension. That's why you count reps. I think that's a common misconception. You don't count reps to be done.
I love that so much, just because when you get a rep range, you count reps to be within that rep range, but it's not to be done. If you find yourself going over, if it's a 10 to 12, if you find yourself easily going over that 12, you're not counting to be done, but you're still going. Maybe it's time you start upping that weight and making it so you fail within that 10 to 12. And if you can actually keep going until 15, but then if you increase it, you only get to 8, hit the freaking 8 and then try to get up to 10 and 12. Like, you need to learn to push yourself. You need to learn to fail. And I fail more times than I can recall. Every single time, I watch my front squat fails over and over again, where I had to bail out of it, or my back squat where I'm in the hole and then I just had to bail and jump forward. Like, they're scary as shit, bailing. But when you learn to fail, you become less scared of it and you start to embrace it in every other area of life. It is so applicable. You need to push past that point and not be scared of that soreness, because if you're doing freaking leg extensions, like, come on, if you're doing it properly and your knees in line with the pivot, which it's just you sitting in the seat properly for those who don't understand that, you're not going to really have any other area to create injury. So you need to get real on whether your fear is real or not and push past that point. And if you think that your form is off, take a video of it, send it to your coach. Take a video of it, find a proper video of someone showing you how to do it, and compare it if you don't have a coach. Not the same thing, but it's still the thing. Like, even if I had a coach, that's pretty much the way that I do it, because I want to make sure that I have something decent to send my coach, so then I can actually get proper feedback from my coach instead of the stupidest little things that don't really make a difference, because I'm not providing my coach something good enough to show him. Whereas now it's just like, I just do it and I watch over my own lifts because I'm more proficient at it. I just need a program there to follow. And that's all I do. I get delivered my program, I follow it, I video my lifts, I look at it. Cool, I'm doing this. I need to fix this. You become proficient at that, like the rooster.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, there's an increasing trend with trying to find what's the most optimal exercise, right? Like, what's the most optimal for your back? What's the most optimal for your biceps, whatever it is. And that's it's very cool to see that. It's very cool to see that there's interest in trying to find the most optimal, form or exercise for a body part. But the pathway of your limb, whatever you're going to, exercise, is just one component of trying to build muscle, right? And building muscle is also one component of just trying to become healthier. Like, there's your mind muscle connection. How well can you contract that muscle? What's your strength like? There's a lot of things that go into this. So for example, if you nail the pathway, you nail the most optimal, range of motion possible, but your intensity is not there, then, your gains are only go so far. And not just that, but the desire to find the most optimal form of exercise can inadvertently lock you into a box. Like, for example, you can make it almost so at least for me, like, I love science. Science is great, but there's also a little bit of, art involved with working out. And what I mean by that is you're trying to get, in tune with your own body. Like, you're literally moving your own body in space, trying to make it stronger. And if you get caught up in, okay, I can only perform these exercises because they're the most optimal, then you can rob yourself of potentially learning other ways to, benefit yourself. Innovation comes from sometimes doing things that are not optimal, right? Like things that were, considered trash could actually be something that's good. That might be a bad example, but,
it's actually true though, because it's like, what's the intent behind it? Like, stop just dissing the way that someone does something if you don't know if there's a purpose behind it. Like, my mentor, my coach, for example, he has these amazing rhythm squats. They're called Romanian rhythm squats, where you're literally just dropping with, like, there are different, like these Romanian rhythm squats, which is literally just like doing some random bop with a barbell on your back, or you can do it with like a front squat, or you can do it, like, there are so many different ways to execute a single movement. For me, the way that I'm starting to do it now, because I'm seeing everyone's putting out like these form check things, and it's like, this is what I love. Like, I love the training aspect because that is what builds the body. The nutrition burns the fat, but you can burn all the fat that you want. You're going to look like shit if you don't train properly. I'm sorry, but you are, because when I first did my first comp prep, I felt like a freaking flat tack thing. I had nothing to me. Whereas I thought I had all this muscle under all that fat that I had, but I had nothing. I looked like shit, but I still went on stage because it's just like, I will improve this in 2 years' time. And that's the thing, like, you need that muscle underneath you to be able to reveal it. And on the podcast that you'll be hearing before, like on like a couple of podcasts ago, we said you can only really crash diet once in your life, and then you won't be able to actually do it again. Like, your body will not respond the same. It is going to, like, you can only do it once. And that's what I did that first time. And then I kept myself stuck for ages. And you saw that in my transformation, if you did not check my blog, but you saw that in my transformation where I kept myself stuck because I did 8 shows in the space of 2 years. So then after all that, I didn't really make any progress. And that's when I was hormonally screwed up, which is where I went through the process of fixing myself, which took about 2 years physically, 3 years mentally, 3.5 years mentally to get over all of that shit. Whereas now it's exactly what we've been speaking about. Like, there is so much more to the picture. I feel freedom in being 80%, 100%, whatever you want to call it. I find freedom in that because I'm in control of my body and it makes me feel amazing. And my hair has grown so much. My nails are amazing. My skin is amazing. I only get random breakouts when it's PMS week, but they're not even that much. I only get a couple of my side of my eye thing up here. I used to get a little bit down on my chin, but I don't get that shit anymore. Like, you don't get as many side effects when you're doing shit right. But back to the Romanian rhythm squats. It's like you see someone in the gym jumping with a barbell on the back. You wonder what the friggin' hell they're doing. But there's a purpose to it. Like, there is so much shit that people condone, but it might have a purpose to it for that person. Like, someone doing behind the neck presses, you might think is a bad thing, but it's actually probably the best way to load your shoulders versus in front of you. But why would you do them behind you if you don't have the shoulder mobility for it? So it's bad for some people, good for some other people. And then actually doing barbell presses in general, that is bad for some people because they can't even do that properly because they'll end up looking like a friggin' banana backwards because they don't have not even that mobility. Like, you need to use dumbbells for that. Like, there's all these different nuances to everything that you do with training. It's the exact same thing with nutrition. There are so many nuances to everything. Like, someone, just like we said, I can't remember who said what about something, but it's just like everything is relative. You said the thing is relative. Yes, strength is relative, but so is low carb. Like, low carb for me, for example, like if I told you I was on low carb, what would you expect? Probably like 100 grams, 120. Is that what people usually think? I don't know. What do people usually think is low carb?
I would say anything below. I think anything below 150 is low carb.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for me, like right now I'm on 200 grams of carbs, and that's like very low.
So you
like
think
very low for me.
What would you say is low for you? 150 for you. What about for you?
Like for me, just in general, like, man, I thought 300 was pretty low for me.
I'm the
Honestly.
same. I'm the same. If someone told me I had to eat 300 grams of carbs, I would probably chuck a fit. I don't even think that I would realistically write a meal plan for myself where I can realistically stick to that. I'm on 410 grams of carbs right now, and I find it so easy to eat. I don't even struggle to eat 410 grams of carbs. My actual main carb amount is usually around 360 to 380. But because I'm building, I added that up, and I'm about to increase again because I've been building for the last 6 weeks and I haven't gained a thing. So now I'm probably going to go up to 4,000, probably going to go up to 3,000 calories. And that's going to mainly come from carbs because my protein's already at 210 and I don't function well on high fats. So my carbs are coming up. Like, that is low protein for me. I mean, that is normal protein for me, for example. There's another one. Like, what is low carb for someone isn't low carb for everybody. And this is where I really wanted to talk about the muscle thing. Okay, let's talk about muscle. Let's talk about muscle, baby. Let's talk about you. And everything has some type of rhythm to it. But honestly, like, the harder you train, the more capacity that you build. Like, this also comes down to having a good aerobic base. If it wasn't for me, actually, I lie. I'm not going to even bring that up. But actually training for my half marathon made me a more efficient carb user. But now I haven't done a single run in like a year almost. And I'm still at that place. So it's not just the cardio. Like, the cardio doesn't do that for you. It's the muscle. It's the muscle that allows you to have this metabolic furnace to be able to burn fat, burn carbs. Now you guys can ramble about this because there's so much you guys can like chit chat between each other on this one. It's just amazing muscle.
Yeah, I mean, muscle is very important. With more muscle, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, this is how much calories you burn at just basically doing nothing, like to function. Your BMR naturally goes up because your muscle is more energy expensive. So in a way, like in a way you can think of like muscle, like adding on different parts to another, like a factory, right? Your body's a factory. And if you were to expand that factory, that's like adding more muscle. Like, muscle is like more machinery to operate with, right? So if you're trying to be healthier, if you're trying to say lose fat, depending on what your goals are, you're going to have a better time, really much easier time burning fat if you have more muscle. But not just that, but your strength is going to be higher, your longevity is going to be greater. Your hormonal health is going to probably be better as well. Like, there's a really positively, everything that's going to, with more muscle, everything is going to go real up positively. You run into an issue where, like, the skinny fat look, for example, right? And it results from having a low protein diet and typically, being in a severe caloric deficit or a chronically low diet, calorically. But yeah, skinny fat is not a good thing to be. It is very unhealthy. I was once there, and even though you reached a certain weight, right, you're light in terms of your body, you shedded the pounds, you shedded more so your muscle, and that's not good. You want more muscle. But yeah, I'll let Sarah take the rest.
Yeah, I'm just kind of go off of what Kenny was saying. I think a lot of people, and I was once one of them, is a lot of people misconstrue the fact that they have a goal weight versus what they're actually picturing in their mind. And that term, toned is literally just having muscle and having it exposed when you lose body fat. That's literally what it is. If you are, if you go to diet and you don't have muscle, like Ruby was saying, like, there's not going to be anything there, and you're going to achieve that skinny fat look, or you're going to look really, really flat. And the second I got over having a goal weight is when my body changed. And the more muscle you have, the more you have to fuel your body properly to maintain it. The more your muscle is so energy expensive. You know, when you're eating in caloric deficit, the first thing that's going to go, like if you're eating chronically low calories, your body's going to do away with the muscle because that's what's consuming the energy, right? This is why having so much, like having protein and having high protein is so important to support that muscle and to continue to maintain that lean muscle mass. And you can't, protein is the most essential macronutrient. Without it, we will die. We'll literally die without having protein. Carbs and fats, you can do without them. Do we suggest that? Absolutely not. They definitely have their functions in the body. They definitely have their uses in the body, not just for, you know, physique purposes, but for your overall health, right? But protein is the most essential, and you cannot survive without protein. And, you know, typically I like to kind of give people a kind of general rule of thumb. If you're out there doing this on your own, you know, 1 pound or 1 gram per pound of lean body mass is essentially how we kind of like to calculate things or tell people, you know, that's the best place to start, because things will kind of go up and down from there. Go ahead.
Kilos, that's 2.2 grams per kilo. And I would say 2.2 all the way up to 2.9 grams per kilo is a really great place to be. And it's the one thing that you can increase the most without a lot of side effect in terms of spilling over into gaining fat, because excess fat, as Broderick Chavez said it, and I'll never forget it, he's like, extra fat, that goes straight to your butt. Like it's like extra fat just gets stored as fat, and then carbs are next and protein is last. So if anything, you want to increase that protein, it is your best fat loss agent. That is in kilos. Keep continuing. This is so good.
Yeah. So, I mean, that protein is so, so important. The only thing that I will say, like, you have to make sure that you monitor is your digestion. That's the one thing that can kind of get a little wonky for a little while, not forever. Your body does acclimate to it. But you need protein to survive. You need protein to build muscle. You need protein to lose fat. You need it for everything. Kenny, I'll go ahead and let you kind of take the reins if you want to speak on it.
Yeah. So, I guess, you know, with protein absorption, like, for example, and this is a myth that I, you know, kind of grew up with, where you can't absorb more than 40 grams of protein per meal, which I don't know where that 40 grams of, well, actually I do know where, so the 40 grams of protein, that number, that's about where muscle protein synthesis spikes. So like whenever you eat protein, your body is going to initiate a process called muscle protein synthesis. It's known as short for MPS. And this is where your muscle basically starts to repair itself or to build upon itself, whatever, you know, your body's going to need it for, depending on what you did in the gym. But with protein meals, like for example, if you break down your meals 6 times throughout the day or 4 times throughout the day or whatever it may be, you know, that duration or frequency of meals, it doesn't necessarily have any sort of massive effect on your overall gains. It's more so like, can you sustainably eat that many meals and be okay with it? So for example, if you have an easier time eating 6 meals per day, or if you have an easier time eating 4 meals per day, then perfect. But with protein absorption, so for example, if you really love protein and you want to eat a bunch of it in a meal and your digestive, you know, or digestion's able to handle it, then understand that any protein that would be considered wasted is actually not being wasted. It is going to still be used for either building muscle, repairing cells, you know, whatever it's going to be. But muscle protein synthesis can spike, and then it can also stay elevated throughout the day, depending on how much protein you have. So if you have 70 grams of protein, it's not the 30 grams of protein is not going to be wasted. It's just more so, it's just going to take a little bit slower to digest. So, you know, with protein sources, you want to make sure you have optimal protein sources, such as, well, chicken, salmon. I love barramundi. It's a white fish, tilapia, beef, I guess bison. I'm not sure if they consider that beef. What else? Even I think tofu. Tofu? Yeah, tofu's good. And edamame. But yeah, there's a bunch of different protein sources that you get. So yeah, I mean, it's not hard to have a high protein diet. It's just more so trying to plan and eat in alignment with your body. When I first started, I didn't realize how much protein I needed to eat. I was eating far too little. and the amount of food that I needed to eat was actually kind of jaw dropping. And in the beginning, I was like, oh shit, this is a lot of food. But then, yeah, you get used to it, and next thing you know, you're actually pretty hungry because your metabolism's going up because of more food. But yeah, I would say a high protein diet is really, really essential, not just for building muscle, but also just being healthier in general, because it is going to allow you to burn more fat. And yeah, to stay relatively lean.
I actually find that hilarious that you mentioned that, because I remember my first memory of training. The thing that I did straight after my workout was drink 2 scoops of protein powder and eat a massive protein bar. So I already knew straight away that I needed to eat more protein when I trained. It's like, I knew that I needed more protein when I don't even know how, but it's like the first thing I did was double my protein intake. Like, I was eating so much protein. Ugh, it was insane, but it's like everyone has different things that they need to figure out what is their bottleneck stopping them from progressing. And if you keep doing the same shit, you're going to get the same results. But here's the main things that you need to take away from all of that is you need a lot more muscle, you need a lot more protein, and carbs are not bad. And you can eat a lot more of them if you actually train to build muscle and you actually eat more protein and you stop starving yourself 24/7. Because here's another thing as well. If you're going to cut your carbs all the way down, your body is going to downregulate the functions and systems within that actually metabolize those carbs. But the thing is, it can also upregulate them over time. And that's the same with the protein stuff. It upregulates both of those systems over time if you give it enough time, and if you stop falling back into the, oh my God, I feel like shit, I'm just going to go crash diet again.
Yeah, it's the quality of your food for sure. I mean, not just qualitative amounts, like amount of protein, carbs, and fats, but it's also the quality of your food. So for example, you can totally hit your macros, but eat complete shit. At one point I was eating Carl's Jr. I don't know if you have Carl's Jr. in Australia, but it's a fast food place. So basically burgers and chicken, and they had this sandwich called, it was like a spicy chicken sandwich. They were only $1. And I would get, I kid you not, 3 at a time, and I would eat them. They were so good. And at this time I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I ate so many spicy chicken sandwiches that I actually smelled, when I would sweat, I actually smelled like spicy chicken sandwiches, as if we were next to a Carl's Jr.
This was long before I met him, by the way. So
yeah, this is, it was, I was unhealthy. And dude, I would wear white shirts, and my pits were fucking yellow. They were yellow. It was it looked like a spicy chicken sandwich, because the spicy chicken sandwich is kind of yellow. And anyway, yeah. I guess my point is that if you are eating enough protein, but your food quality sucks, then you're also running into another issue. You got to make sure your food quality is good as well. But yeah, I will. I mean, don't get me wrong. I sometimes crave a spicy chicken sandwich. I am a fatty inside, total foodie. But
it actually works for you now because you've built up. This is the thing. It's not about not having that fried chicken sandwich, because you have more ability to have that fried chicken sandwich the longer that you've been through this lifestyle, and you won't always be able to have that sandwich. If you're dieting, then no, because if you have that sandwich, you just gave up half of your caloric intake for the day, and you're going to be a starving mess. You're going to feel like Sarah on her freaking fast, because that's going to practically be you need to make sacrifices when you're in a diet, but they're so much easier to make when you're not dieting year round. I'm happy to forego a lot of shit when I'm in a dieting phase, because I know that it's not forever. And you won't have to diet on such low calories if you do the right things and you build enough muscle. If all you do is run your engine with cardio and dumb shit, when it actually comes time to diet again, you don't even have an engine to use. You need a big enough engine. If you have a big enough engine, then when you go into the diet, you're actually churning a lot more fuel for more calories, because you have a bigger engine, kind of thing. And I really wanted to actually touch on the health aspect that Kenny was going on about. So as soon as he mentioned all that, it's yes. Because it's not just about how much you eat. It's about what you eat. because what you eat impacts how much you eat, impacts the type of weight, I almost said type of fat, the type of weight you lose and the type of body you build, because the things you need for your metabolism are vitamins and the minerals, especially vitamin B, especially magnesium, especially vitamin D. Magnesium and vitamin B, they're depleted with stress, they're depleted with medication. If you get put on medication for health reasons, goodbye. If you're on the pill, goodbye to a whole lot more of other things, because the pill actually depletes shit too. It's stress on your body, and it's artificial hormones that impact other things in your body as well, which a lot of doctors don't tell you. Like, I'm not anti-pill for people that need it for prescribed reasons, but if it's to regulate your cycle, you're not regulating shit. And if it's to mask your symptoms or something, you're not fixing anything, and the symptoms are still going to be there. Like, there are reasons to take it, there are more reasons to stay off it. Anyway, medication, pills, all that shit, it impacts those minerals, meaning you need more of them, which is exactly why it is so important to have that diet quality. And speaking about all of that, why is it so important? I guess this ties up everything from both of us, both of you, I was meant to say, and then I looked at me. Both of you and me, talking about muscle, talking about not being in a caloric deficit, talking about actually living in abundance and fueling all these things that aren't all about eating less and doing more. How is this so important to health, and why is health so important, and why is muscle so important as well from an injury prevention standpoint? Because everyone's always complaining about, oh my God, I pulled my back. Oh my God, I'm always injured. Well, if you had muscle to start with.
Yeah, no, injuries, it's funny. Most injuries occur from the eccentric portion of your range of motion. So what that is that your muscle can elongate or contract, shorten when you move it, right? So when it's stretching out, when you're elongating it, this is the eccentric portion of your range of motion. And most injuries can occur when your muscle is in that stretching portion and you basically overload it with something that it was not prepared for. And then it can have a minor tear all the way to a very severe tear. And when you train, when you lift in the gym, what you're doing, or what you should be doing ideally, is that you should be controlling the weight. You should be, like Sarah had mentioned earlier, you don't want to swing the weight up and down. Or, vice versa, if you're outside, you don't want to just, sprint. You don't want to just like jump and, cut back and forth. You have to, allow your body to adapt those movements, right? Whether it is a very acute adaptation where you're warming up, like you're loosening up, getting the blood flow, getting warmed up literally, and then you do your thing. Or, like if you're brand new to lifting and you decide, I'm going to deadlift 3 plates, yeah, your spine's going to fucking fly out your ass and you're going to be on the floor. But like with muscle and with lifting, weight is all relative, meaning that you have to do at least something that's challenging, but not so heavy or so light that it doesn't do anything for you, and so heavy that you can't properly lift it. There's a gray area where you want to be able to challenge yourself and allow your muscles to, adapt to the movement, right? And so lifting weights is a great way to prevent injury, because it quite literally is making your muscles and your tendons stronger and more resistant to potential tears. But this is something that, would be, I guess, I don't want to use the word perfected, but it's something that could be enhanced by controlling the load. So, for example, having a very slow eccentric. So when I say slow, I say maybe 2 to 3 seconds, something that you're intentionally controlling. And then also when your muscle is fully stretched out and now it's time to return back to the starting position where your muscle is now going to shorten and contract, you want to be explosive with that contraction. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, I actually want to try to explode that weight up. And the reason being is that, there's a neurological component to your muscle, there's a mind-muscle connection component to your muscle, right? And so you're teaching your muscle to be explosive, to unleash a lot of power in, a very almost second of a moment, right? And that's very important, because if you're outside or whatever, and then something suddenly happens, you can be prepared to be to avoid the object or whatever, kind of example, like in occupational therapy. I was in the physical therapy field for a little bit, and, occupational therapy, I used to work with an occupational therapist. that is more so geared towards trying to get someone adaptive to and stronger with everyday kind of activities, right? How to properly brush, sweep a broom, or how to, pick up something. Strength is not just about, lifting in the gym, but it's also about longevity as well, right? Like when we're all older and we're starting to, just experience the consequences of living a long life, that neurological adaptations that you practiced over and over and over in the gym is going to carry with you. Strength is very hard to lose, especially if you practice it, right? Muscle or musculature can go down over time as you get older, but if you are consistent with your habits, with your lifestyle, and you practice, being strong, then that strength can stay with you for a very, very long time, even though it's going to be relative, right? Like, for example, when you're 80 years old, you're probably not going to be able to lift as heavy as you did when you're 18, assuming that you had good form, right? Because it's all relative. But if you were, 80 and still lifting with intent to challenge yourself, then who cares what the weight is? You're going to still be strong, right? And it's just one of those things where I think people take lifting or exercising for granted. Like, your body is quite literally designed to move. Like, the fact that your muscle can grow is insane. I mean, you really think about it, like, it's an insane thing that your muscle can quite literally get bigger by doing an activity. Like, you have the ability to change your body just by simply doing, certain actions and sticking with it. So, by not doing those things, by not moving, by not literally living out what your body's purpose is meant to do, you're just opening up a can of, worms that's going to kind of bite you in the ass later down in life. And you don't want to do that.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's a long-winded answer. Sorry, I get very passionate about that.
I loved all of that. That is what people don't think far into the future to realize exactly how their habits and their actions are going to impact them in later life. And then they complain about how shit they feel later on, just like Sarah did, because of how shit she feels right now because of what she did to her body. And the same with me. But it's like, you need to take action on that first. And it's worse when you go through menopause, especially for the females, wondering why you feel so shit all the time and why you're getting fatter. Because when I actually mean fatter, as in you're putting on more fat itself. Because you didn't do the habits, you didn't build the muscle before. You spent most of your life dieting, and now you're struggling to build muscle because you don't have as much muscle building potential as you age. Like, use the opportunity while you can. And that's something I learned the hard way, and I'm realizing now, it's just like, I can't believe that I almost was gonna waste most of my life not focusing on building all of this shit that's actually going to serve me in the future a whole lot more, so I can actually still live a fully functional, thriving life.
Yeah.
That's your turn to sum it up.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. I don't know that I could wrap it up any better. That was like spot on in terms of, it's funny. I wish that I hadn't wasted years, most of my adult life dieting. I look back and think, my gosh, like, how much muscle could I have put on had I not spent all of my college years dieting? And that's why I'm here. I don't, a lot of my hormonal issues were not due because I ended up reverse dieting. I did really well with it. A lot of it was stress related, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time in terms of what stress does to the body. And dieting is a stressor on the body. Absolutely. 100%. But had I known what I know now back then, I would say that things would be a lot different. And don't waste your time trying to constantly shrink yourself. Like, focus on getting stronger, focus on building muscle, focus on losing fat and getting healthier. Like, a healthy body is a responsive body. You want a healthy body. If you want one that's going to feel like crap, then continue to do the crash diets. And that's what that'll get you. But, it's not something that I recommend, and I wouldn't waste any more time doing those things if you have the opportunity to not.
Yeah, don't wait for a moment where you're now trying to be reactive as opposed to proactive, right? And there was one, and the thing that changed my life, at least my I guess, perception of lifting. Because again, when I was in the PT field, I was working with geriatric folks, primarily, and somewhat there was a wife and husband, and they were, together for, years, and they both can barely walk, but they were only 70. And you kind of look at their exercise history, and they didn't really exercise. They were sedentary most of their lives because of their career choice. And even beyond that, though, they didn't really do much. And then, one day the husband fell and broke his hip, and that he passed away, unfortunately, very shortly after that. And there was another person who also was living in this facility that I worked at, and he was by far the healthiest we had in living in the facility. And he happened to be an ex-power lifter and ex-bodybuilder. He dabbled in weightlifting most of his life. And he was one of the few people that was still able to walk. He was one of the few people that was energetic. And it's just one of those things where, for me at least, seeing, especially that husband and wife, because I was married to Sarah at that point, it's like, holy shit, you better take care of yourself right now, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you don't know what actions you're taking today are setting you up for the future. Like, it's really important. It's not just about looking a certain way. Like, it's literally about your health, and the aesthetics are a consequence to your health. So that's a huge factor.
That actually sums it up perfectly, because you don't know what actions you are taking today you don't know the effect it's going to have on you in the future. And yeah, you don't care about it now, but the thing is, those exact same habits that are going to serve you in the future are going to serve you right now in the moment. They're going to give you more energy. They're going to allow you to show up better as a mother, as a partner, as someone at work. You'll be able to make more money because you're able to do more. You go for more opportunities. You're not scared to fail. You're not scared to go for that interview. You're not scared to be more, do more, demand more. Like, that's for some people. For some people, it might be a different career path, but there are a lot of you that are holding back so much from life because you're not able to live to your fullest. And I know I was that person, especially with the lack of confidence that I had and the amount of opportunities that I missed because of how small I was living and how I never felt like I was worth anything that was there. And I didn't love myself enough to feel like I was worth it. And that is the story of a lot of females out there. So take what you will from this amazing podcast and see where you can apply it to your life. Because I am sure that if you actually take time to slow down and realize that it can apply to everything, and how you do one thing in one area, you can apply to every other area, because it's the same mindset. Like, if you can change your thoughts about one thing, you can feel damn right confident in yourself that you can change them about something else, and you can be a badass at that too. Like, I say it to my girls all the time. But what did that teach you? Like, look at, like, I had a girl that freaking got an A on her trumpet exam or some sort of exam. I'm like, look at that. You put your mind to something and you got top marks. This is the thing. What does it say about you? You're a perfectionist. So you are always going to be doing enough. You just need to stop applying yourself so much to one thing that you let the rest of your life collapse into ashes. So think about that. What is serving you and what isn't serving you? And are you letting particular areas of your life that are actually really freaking important in the long term burn up in ashes because you are so hyper-focused on the scale, so hyper-focused on the stories you tell yourself, so hyper-focused on dumb shit that gives you dumb shit results? That sounded cool. That works. So with that, I'm going to leave the Lipton's amazingness in the caption below. And thank you for listening. If you took anything from this, let us know, because we love knowing how we impacted your lives, because as I introduced this whole thing, that's exactly what we thrive from doing, impacting lives one day at a time.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.